Welcome, Allie.
Thank you.
Tell us more about City Year.
I would love to. So City Year is an education-focused AmeriCorps program, which is essentially a domestic Peace Corps. So we employ 17 to 24-year-olds for a year of full-time service working in New Hampshire. And our mission is to increase the local and national graduation rate. So we have these young people serving in Manchester in 6 of the elementary schools, and they provide necessary mentoring and tutoring to students who we've identified as off track for graduation. And you might think that elementary school seems a little bit early for that, but studies have shown that you can identify students who are likely to drop out as early as 3rd grade. So we're really focusing on 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students to, provide those early supports in order to help them ultimately get back on track and stay on track towards graduation and life success.
See, now I had no idea. So mentoring, especially now, education is very big, especially in the public education. So is this more geared towards City Year, more geared towards the inner city schools?
Yeah, so what we did, City Year's been around for 25 years. This is our 25th anniversary, and it was about 4 years ago that we sort of really decided to. Prior to that, City Year was kind of a young organization out there sort of proving that young people can make a difference. But we were just that. We were just young people out and doing good things. We didn't really have a solid focus. And so 4 years ago, we decided that, where young people could make the most significant differences in schools, helping kids, mentoring them and helping them stay in school and on track to graduation. So in New Hampshire, we prior to 2010, I guess, we served, statewide in middle schools, and sort of once we decided we were narrowing our focus, we sort of took a step back and said, where are the most dropouts happening in the state of New Hampshire? And all signs pointed to Manchester. So
really,
yeah, so that's sort of where we decided to sort of uproot everyone and move to the city of Manchester, where we could have that really deep, significant impact. In fact, Manchester's dropout rate is twice the statewide average.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of flabbergasted about that because, Manchester is such an up-and-coming, vibrant city now. Where does Nashua stand in that? Do you know, Allie?
That's a good question.
Better.
They're a little bit better off than Manchester is.
And Concord?
Same, yeah.
Wow. I am really surprised about that. Because, and the reason what kind of surprises me, this past weekend, Saturday, I was photographing the Central versus Merrimack High School basketball championship. I was shocked because I knew it was Central, and I didn't expect to see what I saw. The school spirit, it was at UNH, packed with Central kids.
That's awesome.
It was awesome, because Central High School is, the inner city school. I would never have thought that, Allie.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know how else to. Yeah, it's Central and West High School that we know
Right.
of that have the highest dropouts, the highest number of dropouts in the state.
So you guys are together helping these kids, early intervention then,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
which is awesome.
Yeah. So when we first moved to the city of Manchester, the mayor and the superintendent wanted to be really intentional about where we started out our service, and they elementary school is where they identified the most need, or where they wanted us to start, and then our goal is to ultimately expand into the middle and the high schools that our students are feeding into, so they have that continuum of care all throughout their education.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Can you tell us, exactly what are some of the things that you do with the elementary schools to help? What is your process, I guess?
So like I said, there are studies. So the study is by Johns Hopkins University, and it basically identify that you can tell which students are likely to drop out as early as elementary school based on 3 key indicators we call the ABCs. So A for attendance, B for behavior, and C for course performance in math and English. So what our core members do is really focus on those 3 areas. They have a what we call a focus list of 10 students who, may have difficulty in one or all 3 of those areas, and they provide, support and attendance. So some of our schools, I think Nicole might be able to talk about this, are doing check in and check out each week with students. So they have a group of students who on Monday they check in with and, ask about how their weekend is, and they set a goal for that week to get to school on time. And then on Thursday, they'll meet with those same students and check out with them and see how they did against their goal for that week. And we've seen tremendous improvement in students. I think about 50% of the students who started on a focus list this year have been able to transition off, which means they've had 5 or fewer tardies in a 2-month period.
Oh, that's
tardies
awesome.
or absences. And then for behavior, they're that extra positive support in the classroom. They're able to support the teacher in identifying students who might be disruptive during the class and maybe take them aside and really figure out, what is the root problem that's going on, and support them in that and help them, transition back into the classroom and be the most effective, student that they can be. And then also for coursework, they'll, pull small groups or work with students one-on-one in, math or literacy, and help support the teacher in, differentiating their instruction or supporting their lessons in a different way.
So you guys are actually in the classroom working with these kids and the teachers in the school.
Yep, they're full-time in the classroom from on Monday through Thursday. And then Fridays we support our core members through trainings in, the work that they're doing in their classroom, as well as, different leadership skills.
When we first started talking about City Year, you mentioned the age group 17 to 24 is your volunteers. Mm-hmm. Now, do you have to, are most of these kids college grads?
We have about 20% of our core is just out of high school, 20% is sort of midway through college, and then 60% are college graduates.
Wow.
Yes.
Because I was going to say, you're working with children, education. You have to have some form of experience,
right,
to work with this age group. What does the kids right out of college that are volunteers at City Year, what do they, out of college, out of high school, where can they, be part of the program?
Yeah, I think that they're a really unique bunch because they're so close in age, or so much closer in age to our students than the students right out of college. So I think that they relate to them in a little bit of a different way. But I don't know. I was a core member 5 years ago, and I remember, I was right out of college, and I was like, oh, I know so much more than these kids out of high school, but that is not true at all. I took a huge bite of humble pie. They have so many ideas and so much to bring to the table that, really gave me a wonderful new perspective on, where I was at versus that.
A short period. Think of it,
right.
These high school kids, and you're graduating college 4 years later. 4 years can make a big difference in what they're learning now. So I think that's kind of awesome. How far with these 17-year-olds? What's the transition from they're working with these kids now? Are they going on to college? Is that what most of them are doing? Would you say?
Some are going to college. Some are even considering doing a second year with City Year,
really?
To sort of exercise their leadership skills more. But a lot of them just didn't feel ready necessarily to jump right into school, and so it took a year to. We don't call it a gap year. We call it a leap year. So
cool.
They're really just learning different skills, and I think going into college, 10 times ahead of fellow freshmen. I think it's a really neat experience to do right before you're going into school.
So if you had to do it over again, would you jump right into the program, City Year program, do you think, before you went to college?
I don't know. I look at these core members and I'm like, wow, I would have never been able to do that. But I do think it's a really neat opportunity for those who, maybe need a little bit of time. I don't know if it would have been right for me, but.
So is most of these kids, Dan and Allie, who are getting involved volunteering for City Year, are they looking to get into education?
Yeah, I think more so now that we're really focused on the dropout rate and keeping kids in school. I think most of our core members, and I think Nicole is included, are really excited about getting into education and using this as an opportunity to maybe see if education and being a teacher is right for them. They have a year of experience working in a classroom and working with a mentor teacher and really understanding if that's the way they want to go.
Which it's a truly a hands-on experience. Especially, there is a big difference inner city schools compared to other schools. It's a different environment. So if this is the route you want to go, what better way to get right into the heart of it than be a volunteer? Now, I used to work for the Y here in Nashua, and we always had a AmeriCorps volunteer. They're not volunteers because you are getting. Okay, let's. Okay. Do you get paid?
Yes, our core members get a weekly stipend, and it's $500 biweekly. After taxes, just under $500 biweekly. So it's very minimal. I don't know, but for me as a core member, I thought that was a really neat experience to have just out of college. I know I can live on that little amount of money, and I could, still have fun and, be a young person. But I think it's a really neat experience for them to live on that little.
So, yeah.
It's better than
Hello.
0.
Yeah.
How many college grads are still not working?
Mm-hmm.
$500 is
Yeah.
I could do a lot on $500.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But with the AmeriCorps, it is a grant program, isn't it? City Year, is it funded by grants?
Yeah, so about a third of our funding comes from AmeriCorps, so from the federal government, and then a third of our funding, or a little bit less than that. Dan can probably talk to this better than I can, but less than a third comes from the city and school district, and then the rest of our funding comes from private donations from individuals as well as corporations.
Yeah, because I remember when we had gotten the AmeriCorps at the Y, he was on a grant, and I think it was like $10,000 they gave him for the year, and on that $10,000, he was teaching, he was a leader for young kids, but he had to live. If you want, he had to buy food. So it's a life experience, I think, which a lot of kids really should experience.
Absolutely.
It really is a really good thing. So tell us a little bit more about City Year. What else do you do besides working with the kids in schools? Do you do other?
Our primary focus is on the schoolwork, but our core members do so many things within the school. It's unbelievable. They do the support work and the attendance, behavior, and coursework. They also support students in their after-school program. So a lot of the students that they support during the day will come after school as well, and they can help them with their homework and provide any additional tutoring or support that they might need. And then they run after-school programs for students in different areas that might excite them. And we also run an after-school program called Starfish Corps, which is like a mini City Year for students. So they learn, different ways to be a leader within their school community and do a little bit of community service as a part of that. And then our core members also put together whole school events after school focused around the topics of math and literacy, with the idea of getting, the whole school involved, as well as, parents and siblings of the students that they work with in, getting excited about learning and math and literacy.
Do you work with kids with behavioral problems?
Yes, we do. So the core members support students with behavioral problems. They have a really neat program called 50 Acts of Leadership, which happens twice a week during lunchtime. So core members have a group of students who they'll work with during that time to, again, talk about different leadership skills and ways that they can support them in that. And they've seen a lot of improvement in students from the beginning of the year till now, actually implementing those in their day-to-day work. And it's really neat for the students, I think, to work together and, support each other in reaching their goals.
And this is at the middle school level, correct? Or
no, elementary school.
It is the elementary school. Wow.
Yeah, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders.
Wow. So they identify there is behavioral issues in that young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then another neat thing that our core members do is run non-competitive games during recess time, which principals have mentioned also. They've seen a significant reduction in the amount of, office referrals of students during recess.
See, that's awesome.
I like that, office referrals. Instead of go to the principal.
Go to the principal.
Right.
Go to the principal's
That's a very
office.
nice way to say that.
Well, it's a fabulous thing. How many would you say? How many volunteers do you have in? Now, this is just Manchester.
Yes.
So, how many city year volunteers do you have right now?
In Manchester, we have 50 core members serving right now.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Is there adult leaders?
Yes.
Adult meaning, our age, Michelle and I's age group.
Sure. So we have 14 full-time staff members right now who are serving in our office. The majority of who served within the Corps and then sort of moved their way up throughout the organization, which is neat. Dan actually served in 2001 in Washington, D.C. with City Year, and now is back with us in New Hampshire.
Nice.
So kind of a cool
So you
trend.
do get to experience other things besides Manchester.
So City Year has 25 sites across the United States. So we're just sort of one branch of the broader organization. So pretty much every major city you can think of, there's a City Year site with an appropriate number of core members based on the need there.
Well, I was telling Allie before you came in, Michelle, that I'm going to give a shout out to my daughter because she is with a PR firm in Boston, and they support City Year. So I told her that we're having City Year Manchester come on. I said, you've got to get your office to listen in and see what we're doing compared to what Boston does. Do you all do the same? Is it the same platform?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much the same platform. Some of the other cities work in, middle schools and high schools as well as the elementary schools. So in that way we're different, but it's pretty standardized across the United States.
Cool. You get to travel, sort of, kind of, do you get to travel outside of the Manchester area, or you're just like Dan went to D.C., which is awesome?
Yeah, so we have conferences in Boston and where all the sites come together and, learn from each other throughout the year. Dan did a core year in Washington, D.C., so that's where he served and went off to do other things in the meantime and then came back to City Year, New Hampshire. So it was a little bit unique.
We're adjusting the pod a little. Michelle just got kicked out. But this is good. Okay, you guys are. This is cool because we now have Nicole.
Yep.
At the mic. You're our volunteer.
I am. I'm a core member.
How long have you been doing it?
Since August. So my term of service
August of
goes
last year.
August of 2013. So my year of service will go from August to this coming June.
What do you do?
That's a loaded question. So I guess I'll just walk you through one of my days. In the mornings, my school team meets at the parking lot at 7:30, and then we all travel to our school together. So there's about 8 of us that work at Beach Street School. That's where I'm working. And we travel to school where we greet the teachers and staff and then go outside to start greeting students as they enter the school. And I think that's a very important part of the day, too, even though we're not, intervening academically or anything. Just the fact that the students know that we're there puts a smile on their face. And then we'll go into our designated classrooms, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. There's about 2 to 3 core members per grade. And then we'll go and have our intervention times with our students, or like Allie was saying, work with our attendance students, checking in, how's it going? Did you wake up late this morning? Because I noticed you came in a little later than usual. And so we'll go on. If the teacher is teaching a lesson, I'll kind of observe the lesson or like guide student engagement within the lesson. If I can tell that a student is kind of off in space, I'll, just give them a tap on the shoulder. And then during lunchtime, 2 days a week, we run the 50 Acts of Leadership with 6 selected students that seem to need a little bit more behavior support. And then at recess, we'll go run some games that engage everyone and don't like necessarily leave anyone out. So like a lot of games will say, oh, you get out if this happens, but like we'll like make sure that students are always engaged and not left out. I think that's very important. And then go back into the classroom in the afternoon. And then immediately following the student dismissal, we start supporting the after-school programs in our school. And the first hour of after school is usually homework help-based. And then the second hour, core members will either run a club or support a club that already exists. So right now we have core members running an Around the World club, a dinosaur club, a science club, and then we also have our Starfish Corps, which is really great.
A typical day. If you see a student who I guess you're assigned to certain students, is that how?
Yes, we have students designated for certain areas that we work on.
So you work with them in the morning. What do you do with them at lunch hour? Do you go with them to, or do you?
So I guess it depends. So like for literacy, I'm assigned to 6 students that I work with in literacy. So during our readers workshop, the reading block of the day, I might pull them aside and work on reading with those kids or writing. And then I have 4 separate students that I'm assigned to work on math with. So then during math time, I'll pull them aside and work with them. And then there are 6 separate behavioral students that I'll eat lunch with twice a day. But other than that, I'm more whole class support. So
in other words, the entire class.
The entire
not
class.
Just certain
so
students.
I'm not just with those students all day long, and I think that's important for all students to feel included too.
Do you, on a typical day, if you see, say, a student coming in late, I mean really late,
Yep.
is that a red flag to you? If it's a student that is a issue or a problem student or has some, is that a red flag
bit.
to you?
I mean, I might just pull them aside and check in, just have a casual conversation. I don't want to seem like abrasive with them or anything. But I wouldn't say, at this point, there are necessarily any red flags because I'm in a classroom of 22 students, and I've gotten to know them all pretty well by now, whether or not they're on one of my lists. And I can kind of like feel out with them and, just have a side conversation.
Do you work with the parents?
I don't particularly, but I know that there are other sites in Boston that have more parent engagement with the city year.
Yeah. So you're right there with these kids.
I am.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think this is so awesome. Are you dressed this way? I have to tell the listeners, you guys came in with these beautiful bright red vests with the City Year logo, which you can see on 2Gs in a Pod Facebook page or City Year Facebook page. This is how you dress. So they are.
It is.
They identify right away.
My khakis, my white shirt, and my red. Yep, every day.
So they know that they are in safe waters.
Yes, it's definitely, the consistency is definitely important for these kids, I think.
And you mentioned Beach Street. It seems a lot happens at the Beach Street school.
Yes.
A lot goes on. You always hear about, the mayor's been at the Beach Street school and Mayor Gatzis. Hello, Mayor Gatzis. He's a good friend. So you do, is it just right now Beach Street, or is there other elementary schools? Because there's several in the city,
there are
right?
several. There are core members serving at 6 different elementary schools within Manchester. So, like Allie was saying, there are 50 core members, and they're all split up into school teams. So my school team at Beach Street, we're 8 core members representing the entire core. And then, so we're serving at Beach Street, Wilson, Gosler Park, Parker Varney, Bakersville, and McDonough, thank you.
I know there's so many schools.
Yeah. And I would say, so I'm in a 4th grade classroom at Beach Street, and like I said, we're serving in 8 different classrooms at Beach Street. So there's 8 core members, but we all bring something completely different to our own classrooms, just based on our personalities, our past experiences, and that goes all across Manchester. The different teams just bring different things to each school, and it's really unique, and we all have a completely different dynamic, and it's really interesting.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask Dan and Allie, with Nicole, is there a certain experience level for kids, volunteers working with high school? Do you have to be a certain experience level in city year to, because it's a totally different dynamic working with a high school kid compared to elementary school?
So today in Manchester, we aren't serving at the high school level. But as Allie alluded to at the beginning, we are looking over the next several years to grow our service because we know that life can be difficult for kids once they leave elementary school and go on to middle school and high school. So we know that the need is there if we're going to prevent the couple thousands of kids in New Hampshire who drop out of school each year, who shouldn't be dropping out because that really reduces their life chances. So that's our goal. Yes, it's going to take a lot of new skills that we'll develop in our core. But we have a lot of confidence from what we've seen here in New Hampshire and in the 24 other cities around the country that these young people, and let me tell you, they are competitively selected. We have about 4 candidates for every actual core member that we choose. It's as tough as it is to get into a lot of colleges, or even tougher in this country. So these folks come really well qualified, and they get a lot of training. They get the whole month of August before they begin service. Then every Friday throughout the year, they're getting further training. And so even if they're only a few years older than those high school students that we will ultimately be serving, we're pretty sure that they can make a big impact. And there's something pretty powerful about that near-peer relationship. You know, we know from a lot of research these days that kids don't just need academic help. That's important.
That's right.
But when you're talking about the 1 million students around the country who drop out of school every year, 1 every 26 seconds, if you can believe it. So that's about 130 kids just in this hour of this program that are dropping out of school. It's not because they can't learn. We know that they can learn. Kids from every background, whether in poverty or not, they can learn. But they're dealing with a lot of stuff at home in tough neighborhoods where crime is often pretty rampant. And so having core members who are a little bit older but who can act as role models, who are a little easier to relate to. You know, a little story that really hit me in the gut recently. I was talking to another of our core members who, like Nicole, is serving in one of the elementary schools. He told me a 5th grader of his came to him recently suicidal.
Oh, God.
A 5th grader. And I don't even want to imagine what this kid has gone through in his first several years of life. But the fact that he came to one of our core members who is just a little bit older, this core member is 18 years old, but he trusted him, he felt he could relate to him, and then our core member could go on and make sure he gets the other services, gets connected to a social worker and things like that.
That's what I was going to ask you, Dan, and Nicole, because I'm sure you have been in this situation. That's a very serious, and very... some adults can't even handle something like that. You know, that's a life skill. Are you guys equipped to be able to, you know, handle a child coming up to you saying, you know, I really wanted to kill myself last night? I mean,
We're not going to solve all of these problems. And we don't pretend to be everything to these kids. We're not the social workers. We're not the psychologists. But we are a first line of defense. And because of the trust that Nicole and the other core members build with these kids, and I see it when I visit the schools, that's the funnest part of my job when I get out of the office and visit these schools. I see these kids hanging on to them, you know, wanting piggyback rides or hugs, or building really strong bonds. And because of that relationship, that really unique relationship, our core members can serve as a critical go-between when kids need a lot more help, which some of them do.
Yeah, it's you probably, Nicole, see kind of the worst of things and the best of things. You know, some of us are sheltered in a lot of these suburban schools. We don't know what goes on in the inner cities, and you're you're privy to a lot of very sensitive issues with kids. It must also be very rewarding.
Definitely. It's definitely a change for me. You know, I grew up going to, like you said,
You're a privileged kid,
I'm a
right?
privileged kid. I was relatively sheltered from things that these kids go through. And I just graduated from Keene State College this past spring, and I studied elementary education and sociology. So I've wanted to be a teacher, and I've wanted to work in schools. But I've also been trying to figure out a way to incorporate, like, more of the sociology aspect of it. And this has been an amazing opportunity to combine those skills for me, and it's been very eye-opening to me what such young kids go through at home. And it's definitely rewarding to know that this is a safe space for them, and they know that too, and they enjoy coming to school every day, and they know that the adults at this school are people they can trust, whether or not, like, whatever is going on at home they can put behind them. And it's really remarkable to see how strong these kids are.
And resilient.
Yes.
Resilient.
Definitely.
And I am so glad you're speaking about this because, and I'm going to say, you're a Bishop Girton graduate. You know, we're sheltered in here. And to hear you, who have lived a very privileged life,
Yes.
to give this up, it's not that you're giving it up, but you're helping these kids who are less privileged.
Right. I think it's important for, I think it's just very important.
Well, I know my daughter got involved. A lot of the colleges get involved in working in, she went to school in Waltham. They get involved with working with underprivileged kids. Mm-hmm. Waltham is the same kind of thing, inner city. And it is very rewarding because here is this privileged kid coming down into the trenches with these young kids who don't have what we have.
Right. I think it's also important to speak on the fact that as a core member, I do represent someone who is privileged, but there are core members who come from the communities that we serve, and it's really cool to see them want to give back to communities where they came from and how much they grew and became strong in the face of adversity and are coming back
to help
to their
others,
roots. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's inspiring, really.
It is inspiring. And it's inspiring listening to you, Nicole, and to Dan and Allie. I mean, this is I hope a lot of young people out there are listening to this because we all need to get involved more. We all need to get involved more. Dan, you're getting close to the microphone. I have a question for you. You seem to be the leader of the group. You mentioned office. What do you actually do for City Year?
Sure, I'd love to answer that, but if I could just jump in on one little thing, because what you said about creating opportunities for young people to serve. One of our heroes, we've got many heroes at City Year, but the giants whose shoulders we stand on, of course, is Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King, and he's got a great quote which is on the wall at our office, and he says, "Everybody can be great because everybody can serve." And I'll bet there are a lot of young people out there who maybe not feeling so great on this Monday morning, maybe struggling with classes or having a tough time getting a job, whatever it may be. But we really believe that folks who aren't finding a lot of meaning right now can find that meaning in service. And we want to be one outlet for that. We're proud to be part of AmeriCorps, which is 20 years old this year, where every year tens of thousands of young people serve in all sorts of ways. City Year is just one example. And we want to make sure that, when we have 4 people applying for every single slot that we have, we hope that in the future there will be more slots so that this is a common experience for all young Americans. I was really blessed that when I got out of high school, just down 101 at Conval High School, I got to do my service year. And that made me a very different person, and it set me on a different course for life. And to get to your question about what I'm doing with this wonderful team at the office at City Year, Allie mentioned that we get a portion of our funds from the government. About a quarter of our money comes from AmeriCorps, from the federal government. Only about 12% comes from the city, which means we've got a big challenge. We need to raise a lot of support to do this service from the community, from private companies. We're blessed to have some key partners like Comcast, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, as well as Riverstone and a number of other corporate sponsors who partner with our teams and support us throughout the year, and a lot of citizens and foundations who support us too. So that's part of our job, part of what I spend my days doing, getting public support in the community from our city leaders like Mayor Gatsis, who's a big champion of City Year. But if we're going to make the kind of big impact that we really want to make, and I just want to underscore the need for this service, because I think for a lot of folks who are a little sheltered from this, it may be hard to imagine. But Manchester is kind of our black eye in New Hampshire. We do pretty well as a state on the graduation rate, but in Manchester, you've got a quarter of our kids who are not graduating in 4 years, and about half of them don't graduate at all. And for those quarter of kids, they're starting out adult life, in a really bad place. About 2/3 of jobs in America require a college degree today, at least community college. But for those kids who aren't graduating high school, their chances of ending up in prison are 10 to 20 times greater than their peers who do graduate. Their chance of being unemployed are at least 3 times greater than those who do graduate
because they're
high school.
on the streets.
They're on the streets. They're having trouble finding a job, or a job that pays. Minimum wage at $7-something an hour isn't going to pay the bills realistically if you're trying to support a family. So that's what we're trying to stop. And in order to make a big impact in Manchester, which is our aspiration in the years ahead, we need to raise more support, which is partly why we're excited to be talking to you today with our big annual event coming up at the end of the month.
Which I'm so glad, because I'm looking at it's 9:50 already. We didn't even take a break. I promised you guys we would take a break. I brought you guys on to talk about the gala that's coming up, but I'm so more enthralled in really, Nicole, I want you to really toot your horn loud.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep. Get these kids. How do you get involved? What is the first step? These kids out here who maybe aren't working, they just graduated college, or maybe they're seniors in high school right now, not knowing, do I want to go to college? What was the step you took?
How did I get involved?
How did you get involved? How can you get others involved?
So it's actually really easy. I mean, the application process is very simple. There's an application right online. You can even probably just Google City Year application, and it will probably be one of the first things that come up. For me, there was a career fair at my college, and there was a City Year representative. And this happens in high schools and in colleges, that there will be there might be a college fair, career fair, and there will be a representative that goes and just told me about City Year, and I was just amazed. I thought, this is the perfect thing for me. How can I get involved? And she just set me right up to apply, and it's just a quick application. Then you go through an interview process, and what you get out of it is so much more than, or for me, what I am getting out of it is so much more than what I expected to. I expected to come in, hopefully help out these students, but I don't know who's getting, who's benefiting more, if it's my students or if it's myself. Just my own personal and professional development throughout the course of this year has been impeccable and unimaginable.
There's nothing like volunteering.
Right.
I've done it all my life. There is nothing like volunteering. You get back what you put into it.
And more.
And more. Mm-hmm. And more. And with that note, you guys are here for a very specific reason. You have a fabulous gala coming up on March 29th.
Yep.
At the Wentworth by the Sea.
That's right.
Oh, I love this. you are honoring.
Tom and Lisa Raffio. So Tom is the president and CEO of Northeast Delta Dental, as well as his wife Lisa. So it'll be great.
Tell us about the gala. This is a fundraiser. So you were saying, Dan, it's important, that we help support City Year. So this is a big fundraising event.
Yeah, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. We're hoping to raise $250,000 at the event.
Good.
So,
Good. Yeah. Are you booked up? Is seats taken? It's all filled up? You need a few?
we still have room available if folks would like to join us. You can visit www.cityyear.org/New Hampshire. The registration link is up there. But we'll have a silent auction, a live auction. You'll get to learn a little bit more about City Year, as well as honor Tom and Lisa with the Lifetime of Service Award.
And I'm honored because I'm going to be photographing this event. I can't wait. This is why I had you guys come on. But to be able to show, and tell everybody. I had no idea what City Year was about. And now I'm leaving here. Photographing the gala is going to be even more meaningful to me.
You're going to be blown away, Glynis. We
I
got a
can't
really
wait.
cool program
I'm
lined up.
so excited about this. Dan, you're chomping.
Well, we're just so excited that you're coming and contributing your services. Talk about volunteering. We thank you very much for that. We're excited that we have some Nashua restaurants, some of our finest restaurants like MT's Local and a couple of other restaurants around contributing some gift certificates for the auction. This is going to be one of the funnest nights of the year in New Hampshire. We take a lot of pride in this gala, which Allie over here is the lead organizer of. This is